I hate it when there's particularly we've been in so many times Blues fans, haven't we, where we've had to get something out the last game. I don't want that to be the case this season, but I've got a sneaky feeling that there will be. It's going to go down to the wire.
And as I say, for me, hopefully we get this new manager bounce and Rowett makes us that bit more compact. And I think with Rowett at the wheel, that's why I'm a bit more confident with these score predictions.
So welcome back to Small Little Lions FC. And at the time of recording this video, Birmingham City are currently 21st in the Championship table on 39 points, level with Huddersfield, who are one place below and in the relegation zone with just 8 games to play. And in this video, myself and Matt are going to go through each of those 8 remaining games and give what we think will be the outcome of that game and to see if we think we'll have enough points to stay up. So I'm going to start off and pass it right over to Matt with the first game, which is away to Queen's Park Rangers. Matt, what do you think will be the outcome of that match?
So QPR is going to be an incredibly tough game. They're right down there with us. They have just as much to play for as we do. And it kills me to say it, but they're actually having a very decent start to the second half of the season. Just got a bit here. They beat Leicester at the King Power and they held West Brom to a 2-2 draw. I'm hoping we get a bit of a manager bounce with Gary Rowett coming in. I'm hoping he stables the ship, makes it difficult to break down. And I think we'll do okay at QPR. And I'm going to use the word steal for a very specific reason. It's going to be a tight game. I think we're going to nick it and I think we're going to win that game 1-0.
It's okay. So you've gone for a win. Well, I think that again, I agree with you totally. It's a very, very important game for both teams. I've looked at Gary Rowett's record against playing QPR while he's been a manager over his whole managerial career. He's played 15 matches against QPR for different teams, won 6, drawn 5, lost 4, with the points per match of 1.5, which is not bad. I am going to predict that this will be a draw. In my opinion, I think it'll be a draw. So I think we'll get a point at Loftus Road.
Yeah, I was battling between 1-1 and 1-0, but I'm confident with the Gary Rowett manager bounce, we're going to win that 1-0.
I think so. I think it's too important for both teams to lose, and I think that with Gary Rowett now, I think we're going to get a draw there.
So we'll go a little bit back and forth then. So that brings us on to our second game, which is Preston. What are your thoughts for the Preston game?
Okay, so once again, I've done my homework and looked at Gary Rowett's record against Preston. He's played 13, won 7, drawn 6, and not lost a single game against Preston. Now, they are having a really good season, actually. They started off really well, had a blip, and now they're actually pushing once again for the playoffs. So this is not going to be an easy game. However, because we're at home, I think this is a game that we will win. So I'm going to predict a Birmingham City win against Preston.
Interesting. So for the same reasons you've basically listed, they're going for the playoffs. We're basically for survival. It's going to be such a close game, and we're going to be 2 compact teams. Well, I'm banking on Rowett making us compact, and Preston are quite compact as well. So I'm going to go for a draw. I would love for you to be right on this one, but I'm going to go for a draw against Preston.
Okay, so I'm actually writing down your prediction. So at the end of it, we can calculate what the total number of points that each of us think. After that, well, on the 6th of April, we have Leicester away.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and Leicester's a very difficult game. And it makes matters worse that Leeds and Ipswich are now chasing them even more intensely than they once were. So they're going to want to try and break away from the pack again and keep gunning for that first. I must admit, I'm sorry, Leicester fans. I've been seeing quite a bit of banter on social media, and I would love a little bit of humble pie to be eaten and for you to have to go up through the playoffs. I'm not even going to lie. That would be great. However, just to bring it back to reality, no one goes to the King Power expecting much, and I think it's going to be a very tough game. And I think that one will be, I'm going to go for a 2-0 loss on that one.
So you're going for a loss, yeah. I can't see beyond a loss as well. The reason I want Leicester to lose is because, I want Leicester not to get the automatic promotion spot for the celebration that Mavidi did when he scored at St.Andrews.
Yeah, exactly.
So arrogant that was, wasn't it?
And Dewsbury Hall joined him in 5 minutes later.
But you can't deny the fact Leicester are a very good side. They're a really good side. They've got pace in the side. You know, they've had a real sort of blip from their standards as well. I've gone for a loss as well. I can't see us getting anything from that game. Anything, a draw would be a bonus, but I've actually predicted a loss in that game as well.
I would be happy if Rowett parked the bus and got us a point. That I would be buzzing with that. However, they are a brilliant side. I mean, it's a £200 million squad. You don't expect much from the King Power. So yeah.
What I will say is, though, I think they'll find it harder to score against us because of the way Rowett will set us up. But I still think that the game for them is such an important game that they'll look at that as us as an absolute must-win at home. So I think it'll be a loss too.
Completely agree. So that brings us on to Cardiff at home. And I'll fire that one back over to you, Dad. What are your thoughts on Cardiff at home?
So Cardiff at home, I think this is another game where we'll look at Cardiff, who are mid-table. I thought, respect to Cardiff, they've had a much better season than I thought they would because they had a transfer embargo at the start of the season, and they've had some really, really good results over the season. So none of these games are easy. But I see Cardiff as a team when they come to St.Andrews, they're not going to get in the playoffs and they're not going to get relegated.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying they won't have anything to play for, but I see that as a win for us. I'm going to predict that we will beat them. And in all of these games, when I am predicting wins, I don't think any of these fixtures are going to be easy by any means because every team in the Championship is dangerous. But I do think that I would predict that Cardiff will be a win.
Yeah,
it's one home ground again.
I'm classing Cardiff as a must-win for those exact reasons you've just listed. They're not going to quite make the playoffs. They're not in any danger of relegation. They're just that hovering mid-table team. And if you're playing those teams at home, you have to win. And sorry, Cardiff fans, you do fall into that category of that small teams who we have beaten away from home. That was Rooney's first away win at Cardiff. So I think we're going to do the double over them this year, and I'm going to go for a Blues win on that one as well.
Yeah, I don't think I like you calling them a small team, by the way, but
No. As in they're in the packet of small teams that we beat away from home.
Oh, okay. So we've only won 3, and they're one
exactly.
of them. Oh, okay. I'm glad I clarified that. You'd have got some stick for that, I think, from the Cardiff. Cardiff are a decent sized team, aren't they?
100%. No, Cardiff. No, they're a good team. They're not long out of the Premier League. What, the last sort of 5 years? So much respect to Cardiff. I think. I think it'll be a tough game, by the way. And whenever I predict a win or a loss, I'm predicting small swings either way. I don't think we're going to see another Southampton 4-3 with Rowett at the wheel, if I'm totally honest.
No.
I'm thinking 1-0s, possibly 2-1s, an absolute max under Rowett.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Blues win for Cardiff at home.
Me too. So that brings us next on to the game after that we've got on the 13th of April is at home to Coventry.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that one?
And for me, this is a really difficult game. No doubt about it, Coventry are going to be gunning for the playoffs. They've got the FA Cup on their mind as well. They just had that amazing game at Molineux at the time of recording at the weekend. Hadji Wright and Ellis Sims seem to be finding the net, don't they? Typical. And similar to when we played them at CBS last year, we played them, I think, 3 games before the end of the season, and they were just on fire gunning for the playoffs. And I think it's going to be a similar this year. And I'm actually, unfortunately, going to predict a loss on that one for Coventry. I think it's going to be 1-0 to Cov.
And so am I.
Yeah.
That's exactly, everything you said, I totally agree. They're a really, really dangerous side. They're fast movers. They play well all throughout the pitch, really. That semi-final, a quarter-final where they beat Wolverhampton Wanderers, got them into the semi-finals of the FA Cup is just a snapshot into what they can actually do. And I think the motivation for them is that they will be having to beat us to keep the pace in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I unfortunately, and we haven't got a great record against Coventry recently either.
No.
I'd love us to get something there because they are a local team to us.
Yeah.
But I predicted that as a loss as well, unfortunately.
Yeah. And again, Coventry. I wouldn't say I have a soft spot for Coventry, but I admire Coventry. They've came from League One. They were down in League Two 5 years ago, and they've made it all the way last year. Only missed out on the Premier League by the playoffs. So they're a good team. They've worked hard over the past 5 to 6 years, and they've got themselves as a sustainable Championship team now pushing into the Premier League. And I have no doubt, to be fair, in the next 5 years, on the trajectory that they're on, Coventry could be a Premier League team. I really do believe that. And tough game, but I'm with you. A loss on that one.
Where both teams are at the moment, I think that that will be a loss for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that brings us on to an absolutely humongous game, and that is Rotherham away. So what are your thoughts on that, Dan?
Well, Rotherham are dead and buried, aren't they? Even if they were to win all their games that they've got left, they'd still be only on 43 points, which they're not going to do. No. So they've gone, Rotherham. And for us, you've got to predict a win. Yeah. We've got no choice. I think that's a game we're going to have to look at. And I think Rotherham will be in a position where, by that point, clearly, by now they already know they're gone. So their players really are playing for their contracts and their pride. And stuff like that. And they are at home as well. They will be at home. So, but for us, that is such an important game. But I think it's one of them games where we just think, we'll roll up and we'll just beat. It's just an easy 3 points. I don't think that's the attitude, and I think Gary Rowett won't let them have that attitude.
Absolutely not.
But I have to predict a win there for us.
Also, I don't mean this in a negative way, but I'm sure all Blues fans will understand me on this one. This is the kind of game Blues should win. But I'm not saying we won't, but it's the kind of game historically that Blues would mess up, isn't it? Rotherham away, we need those 3 points. They're a team which are at the bottom. It's the typical Blues to go to Rotherham and not get anything. However, I'm not going to repeat exactly what you've said because you've almost like you're reading from my notes. I completely agree, and I'm going to go for a win for Blues there as well. We have to.
Yeah.
It's a game that we cannot come away with nothing from. However, Rotherham are no pushovers. They beat Coventry at home this year.
They beat Norwich as well.
They beat Norwich, so they can put in good performances.
But they have only won 3 games all season.
It's a fair point, but it just shows that they can beat. They can
But
beat the teams.
anybody in the Championship can beat anybody on their day. But
Absolutely.
I think you've raised a good point there. Yeah, these are the type of games that we would traditionally slip up on.
I know.
But we can't afford to do that because particularly it's the third last game of the season, that is, and we do need the points. So that's going to have to be one where we have to win that. So I've put us down for a win.
I think
we will win as well. That's why I've predicted it.
Well, it's going to be
not gonna be easy.
I think it could be like a 1-0 out. That could be a game where it's won on a mistake, on a set piece.
3 points. It's 1-0, 6-0. It's all 3 points. It doesn't
100%.
matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That brings us on to that penultimate game of the season, which is away at Huddersfield. So what's your thoughts on that?
Big game. We beat them 4-1 earlier in the season in the infamous week of the whole Eustace Rooney drama.
Yes.
That game sticks in my memory with the Baggies game as those two really buzzing results that we got earlier in the season. But again, Huddersfield are no pushovers. They've had some good results this season. They're only one space below us, only on goal difference alone. It's going to be a difficult game to watch for both teams, I'm sure. But I'm hoping by that time, who knows, with the driving seat, hopefully, I'm sure all Blues fans are wishing this as well. We might have created a little bit of gap. Who knows? But either way, it's going to be a close game. However, for the same reasons for Rotherham, I'm going to predict the Blues win because we have to win. But again, it's going to be on a knife's edge. There's not going to be many goals, but I am going to predict the Blues win on that one.
That would be an amazing result if we were to win that game. Again, same reasons for you really. It's such a big game for them as well, and who knows, when you get to the last but one game of the season, it could be a game that either of us could win to guarantee our safety, either of us.
Exactly.
It's such a big game. I see Huddersfield as a very physical side. I don't think they're the best ball-playing side in the league, and I think that clearly the league table shows that's just like us. But their physicalness is, and I've watched them almost not overpower teams, but they do stand their ground. They give Leeds a really good game. I think there was a draw a number of weeks ago.
Down to 10 men as well.
Yes, so they've showed that they've got the resilience to hold in there. It is away from home, and our away record is not good. I'm going for a draw.
Okay.
I'm going for a draw for that, and I think that wouldn't be dependent upon results that have gone before that. I don't think that would be such a bad result for us because it's a 6-pointer. Therefore, it doesn't allow them. Of course, if we can win it, if your prediction comes through, fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think that's such a little bit like the QPR game. It's such an important game that I think I'm going to predict a draw for that one.
It could be one of those games where it's so important both teams cancel each other out. It's so cagey. No team wants to make a mistake. You end up a lot of those games could end up in draws, couldn't they? Or it could be an absolute, it could be the complete opposite. A goal fest. Who knows? But I can't really see that. I think it's going to be cagey. But I'm going to nick it with the Blues win there for me.
Okay, fine. And that brings on to the final game of the season, which is Saturday the 4th of May. Just found out today that the EFL have confirmed that all these games will start at 12:30, not 3 o'clock. Okay.
So it stops teams kicking the ball out in the middle of the park if they know they're going to have safety.
Well, it's a 12:30, but that's Norwich City at home, and that's what we finish our season on. So what's your final thoughts on that game? Because it's the final game of the season.
I'm going to start by saying hopefully we don't have to start this game getting something from it. Needing something from it. I hope by the time Norwich come to St.Andrews at Knighthead Park, we are safe and we don't need to guarantee points out of that game because Norwich are a dangerous team. They're difficult to play against. Their away form isn't great, so they will have a little bit of hope there, but I have no doubt when that day comes, they will still be pushing for the playoffs. So if we're not safe and we need something from the game, and they also need something to get into the playoffs, that's going to be an extremely difficult game. However, with our home form and with Norwich's away form, I'm actually going to be confident on this one. I'm going to go for a Blues win.
Okay. That's interesting. So looking at what you've predicted, I'll come on to my Norwich in a minute. You've predicted that we're going to be 4 of the last 5 games. Okay, that's what your predictions are. I agree with you again. Once again, I said we can always agree with each other here because we can look at the league table and you can see that Norwich are pushing for that final, and it will be the final playoff place because I think the top 4 are going to be the top 4. That's going to be your Leeds, Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton. West Brom are probably going to take 5th. That means there's only one playoff place left. Yeah. And Norwich are in there currently with 8 games to go with Preston and Coventry, etc. So I think it's going to go right down to the wire. So potentially they could have something to play for.
I mean, do you not remember last season? If you looked at the table, a live table on the last day of the last season, it was Sunderland, Preston. Not Preston, but it was moving. Blackburn was up there. It was constant. So if we have one of those days and it's also moving down the bottom, we're going to have a heart attack in the stadium.
I hate it when there's, particularly, we've been in so many times, Blues fans, haven't we, where we've had to get something out the last game. I don't want that to be the case this season, but I've got a sneaky feeling that there will be. It's going to go down to the wire. I've predicted a draw.
Okay.
I've predicted a draw because of the importance for them. And ultimately, they've got some good players in that team, Norwich. Yeah, their away record isn't brilliant, but because there's likely to be so much on it for them, and for us, I think we're going to cancel each other out. So I'm going to go for a draw.
Yeah.
So that means with my predictions, I've predicted in the last 8 games 3 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses, which is 12 points. You've predicted 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses, which is 16 points.
I hope I'm right.
So do I. Yeah. So I mean, and bear in mind, Blues fans, these are just predictions of what we think the results or the outcomes are going to be of these matches. And if we were to get my predictions were to come true, we'd have 12 points, which would take us up to 51, which is going to be tentative whether that is actually enough. I think it will be 51 actually. But if Matt's come through, that'll be 55, which will definitely be enough to stay up.
Yeah, because every time we beat a Rotherham or a Huddersfield, you're taking 3 points off them. So these are 6-point games, aren't they? So every time if they come true and we do beat these teams, they're massive.
I just wonder though whether we are capable of winning 5 of those games, which you've predicted. I'm not. By the way, I'm not disputing your results, but your predictions. But are we going to win 5 out of the last 8 games? I mean, if we can, fantastic. But
the reason why I think that is because we have Gary Rowett now at the wheel, so he is going to make us a lot more compact and difficult to break down. It could have been a different story if we carried on with the trajectory which we were on, but I think we're going to be a lot more stable. We're going to be a lot more difficult to break down. And just quickly going back, Cardiff, they're not going to have much to play for. They're not going to make the playoffs. Not going to get relegated. I think that's a winnable game. Rotherham and Huddersfield, I've put us down for wins because they're must-wins. We have to take points back from that. And I think the Norwich game, the only reason I picked that one is because of Norwich's away form. It has been pretty poor over the course of this season. And as I say, for me, hopefully we get this new manager bounce and Rowett makes us that bit more compact. And I think with Rowett at the wheel, that's why I'm a bit more confident with these score predictions. I think the only one I'm a bit shaky on is the Norwich game. I think I've gone for a win there, but possibly edging towards, it could be a draw on that one. But I think all the others, I'm relatively, Rotherham and Huddersfield, they're too important not to win. Coventry is too much of a tough game that I think they could beat us. And Cardiff, because they've got that, nothing to play for, the middle ground team, I think they're beatable. And I'm going for a glass half full, as this podcast always tends to be. And I'm going to 55 on my prediction, was it 54?
55, because you're predicting 16 points from the last 8 games. So it's average of 2 points a game, which is good.
Even on yours, we stand a chance of being safe. It just depends how it plays out for the rest of the season.
I think 51 is probably going to be normally 50 is around about the benchmark. I know it's tight down there, but don't forget all these teams around us, they've all got to play each other, and they've got to play tough games as well. So they're all going to take points off each other as well. So that's what we think, Blues fans. In terms of each of the games that we've got left and the outcomes of what we believe is likely to happen. But what do you think? Be useful to know what you think, and let us know in the comments below what your score predictions might be for each of the remaining games, and let us know what you think the threshold will be for the amount of points for safety this season. Add a comment below. Let me and Matt know what you think, and it's always useful to. It's always interesting to see what your responses are. Do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, don't forget to press the subscribe button. And also, don't forget to check us out on our social media pages. We have an X or Twitter page and an Instagram page. And you'll find the handles on the screen throughout the video. So hope you've enjoyed the video. And me and Matt will see you on the next video.